Welcome to another episode of Aligned and Abundant. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. Her name is Donna Dimino. Donna's mission is to help others learn to trust the power, nature, and joy of the human body to heal. Through workshops, nourishing alignment movement classes, retreats, one-on-one work, and custom blend essential oils, she supports people in laying the foundation to find whatever is needed to know their bodies so they can find greater joy, freedom, trust, and personal agency. Donna's greatest joy is when someone realizes it's actually possible for them to feel good again and recognize their body is not trying to hurt them. It's just trying to signal them to do something different. She considers her work a playground for healing, helping others reconnect with the way nature intended us to be, continually guiding us to move towards a deeper connection to ourselves, to nature, and to each other. Donna, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. And that all sounds so magical. I can't wait to dive into today's conversation.
I'm so happy to be here, Christine.
So tell me about how you got interested in essential oils. It's such an interesting topic, and I know they have so much potential to aid us in our everyday lives. Tell me a little bit about your background and your story.
Initially, I tried essential oils when I used to be an actor and a dancer, and I would go into the city, Manhattan, all the time, and it was a bit anxiety filled for me being on the subways. And so I would just take the peppermint oil, and I always had a peppermint oil with me, and I would breathe that in, and it's not only great to open up the sinuses and just feel like you can breathe again, but it also is good for anxiety. That's what I started with. And I didn't do much from there. But in 2011, I had a breast cancer diagnosis, and I decided to heal myself on my own. It just felt good. I just asked my body, what's my part in this? Not to blame myself in any way, but I feel the natural design of the body is not to have cancer. And so if I was doing something that it was something I was eating, it was the environment I was in, if it was my thoughts, I knew that I could, with great power, create something different. And so part of the healing I had, it's a very interesting story. I was going to a retreat the week that I found out about this diagnosis, and I decided to go anyway. And the doctor had said to me, basically, you could either have a double mastectomy or you could start getting radiation. And I did a biopsy, I did a follow up, and it just didn't feel right to my body. And so I went on the retreat just seeking some more answers. And on the retreat was a labyrinth that the leader had us go on, which I had never experienced before. But the moment I walked into this room where it was a replica of shards where Mary Magdalene apparently had been on labyrinths, I just started to cry and I didn't know why. And I waited for a while until other people walked it and I just observed. But when I got onto the labyrinth, I just started to dance. I just danced my way on the labyrinth, and it was just something that nourished me so much. I had no idea. And the retreat was wonderful. And I stayed a day later and I went on the labyrinth by myself. And while I was walking the labyrinth, I just felt a feminine energy, and I felt something like she took my hand, and I felt something in the other hand as well. And I heard, "You're already healed, but the process that you go through is very important." And so I believed it. And when I got home, I found out I had a labyrinth next door to a playground at a church, about 15 minutes walk from my house. So I started to walk that labyrinth every day for a year. and it was outdoors. And here I was in New York at the time, the weather did not stop me. And I just would get these downloads of both personal healing and transpersonal healing. And I was able to bring it into my work. I was able to find the next step. I just every day waited for what the next step was. I did do a detox program, which I think really helped me as well. And then I found out about the essential oils, and that became part of my regimen. And a friend had told me about the lemon oil and frankincense oil for the breast area. And I started to work with that, and I really dove into that both intuitively and researched it. And within 2 years, I completely healed.
Oh my God. I did not know this story, and I have chills. Like, I can't even tell you. I could I could cry. Wow. Because I believe in what you're saying. I believe the body can heal itself. And Mary Magdalene is someone who I've always been, I felt a connection to as well. And I feel like she's quite misunderstood by many people. So, oof, wow. So you healed yourself?
I healed myself, yes. It took 2 years, but everything was cleared in 2 years. And I just, Christine, when I found out, what my part in it was more thoughts for me about having to take care of others. I grew up in a very difficult situation and wanting to save others and take care of others. And it made me feel like if I could just live 1 week without feeling like I have to save someone or, really be there, especially for my parents,
Mhm.
I would be happy if I could have freedom from that. And so it became rather than a fear of dying, it became this urgency to live.
Wow.
And that shifted everything for me. And I think that was as well as part of the healing, as well as the labyrinth and the essential oils and just listening every day to what the next step would be, really trusting that I would get the next step. And I was open to, if I had to do some sort of more conventional treatments, I was open to that. But I never got that message. I never felt that. And I have real reverence for the body. I do movement work and I do intuitive body work. And I just believe that the body is a messenger of the soul. And its work is to guide us, is to be a guardian and to guide us to whatever it is our soul is seeking. And sometimes if we don't understand it or there's fear there, we can really maybe make choices out of the fear rather than listening to what the body is just trying to tell us to do, just trying to give us a signal for.
Yeah.
So that has been my experience with myself and others. And one of the things I loved about the essential oils and that I found out is that not only do they work on a physical level, but they work on an emotional and spiritual level as well. They are some of the highest frequencies on the planet is essential oils. And I'd love to read you a little bit about that at some point in the interview because it's just amazing to me what they're able to do through vibration and frequency, which I know that you works with as well.
That's amazing. We will definitely get to that. I want to ask you a few more questions about what you just shared. I love that you said, "What's my part in this?" Because I think, and I don't know for sure, but I do think that, like you said, our body signals to us. And if we are on like the wrong path as far as overgiving or living in fear or letting anxiety rule our lives, then our body does create dis-ease and literally disease in our body. And so I know from someone else's share that mimics what you're saying is we have the ability to heal ourselves if we do the work. So going deep and saying, what is my part in this? I think that probably, from speculation, made so much of a difference because you changed your frequency or whatever it was that you realized. So, how did you have the know-how to do that or to think about that? Because I just feel like a lot of people, and I don't know because thank God I've never been there, but like kind of questioning why did this happen to me versus what is my part in it? Like, how did you know to ask yourself that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Christine. I just believed in the body since I was a child. I had a great reverence for the body and for nature. And I would say that nature is probably my greatest teacher, as well as the body showing me what to do. And so I already had a background and I was already in spiritual realms. And I had actually, one of my first books I ever got was a Louise Hay book, You Can Heal Your Body. And that is a question that she asked. So I went to that book was one of the first things that I did. And it was her question that I asked myself. But the thing was that was so amazing. I immediately got an answer. And you're absolutely right that it changed the trajectory because that's the thing that made me say, I don't want to live like this anymore. I'd rather not live if I can be free, again, just for 1 week. That would be wonderful. And that's where my focus went. And I agree with you. That changed so many things.
Wow, that is so incredible. Tell me more about your experience walking the labyrinth. I first came across a labyrinth in, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Lilydale. It's a spiritual community in the New York area. It's very close to the Finger Lakes, and they have a labyrinth there. And I walked it. And so, for anyone listening, a labyrinth is basically a spiral pathway that you walk in and then you walk out, and you're usually in meditation or some type of deep thought or connection. Would you add anything more to that, Donna?
Yeah, I would add that it is a place where you can ask a question or, go for meditation or just take a walk, but the spiral guides you to the center of the labyrinth, which I feel like is our own center. It mimics our own center, and you can, depending on what you believe, whatever your
Mm.
spiritual beliefs are, you can think of it that, you can connect with your inner self, your highest self, the highest belief that you have for a benevolent figure. So there's something about the fact, because some people think of it like a maze, but it's not like a maze because it actually guides you, but you can't really figure it out. You have to just take step by step, which is what I loved about it so much. And it will show you the way, and it's just sort of giving up to it and letting it take you. And it brings you into the center and then it guides you out again.
It's really such a beautiful metaphor because it's almost like life, like you're walking a path and you don't know what's ahead, but you're being guided. And so that's the imagery that I have in my mind to describe walking in a labyrinth. It's so almost serendipitous that you ended up finding that you were only 15 minutes away from a labyrinth, and that really truly impacted your life. Because I know that, for instance, I have looked up like a labyrinth finder, you know what I mean? Like you can look up where they are around you. And that's just so wild to me that in the city, right? Were you in the city at the time?
I was in Staten Island, so
Wow.
yeah, so but in New York City, yeah, in the New
Yeah,
York
it's
City
like you wouldn't
area.
expect that to be there, but there it was.
Yeah, and the fact that it was at a church next to a playground made a difference for me. And that is where I got the terminology for my work, the playground for healing, because that is what it felt like, that every day I was guided and I just had to, like I would in a playground, just let everything call to me, whatever was the next thing, and just be open and play with it. Just play with it and see what came. And I was amazed, Christine, amazed at the information that came through every day. And, in the middle of winter, I was lying in the center of I just was able to do it, lying in the center of the labyrinth. But then I also had some past life things come and some things about the masculine and the feminine in this world. I had done a course called A Joyful Force, which was about balancing the masculine and feminine. So I had a real heart for that. And I got a lot of information about that I've used in my work. And I started to write a book. I never finished it, but I hope to one day because the information was just incredible.
Well, I think you definitely should finish that book. I'll definitely buy a copy. I want to ask you, how did you develop your intuitiveness? Was it something that you felt you were born with? I know that you have the capabilities to tune in. You use your intuitiveness through your work. How did you develop that? Was it something that you were born with, or was it something that you were drawn to and then you developed it? Tell me a little bit more about that journey.
That's a great question. Again, I had it early on with nature. Nature was my friend when I was a child, and I was really fortunate and blessed to live in a beautiful home that had 59 trees, and a landscape artist had built our home, and it was just beautiful with daffodils and rock gardens and roses and magnolia trees. And so I just played in nature a lot, and I would listen. And I don't know how. I remember telling my sister, like, we were in the car, I was like 5 years old, and we were waiting for my mom to come out to the car. We were in the back seat. I remember telling my sister, "Oh, we're going to go to my cousin's house today." And I didn't think we were going to, I had no idea. I was just playing with her and everything. And when I came out, my mom said, "Oh, we're going to this particular cousin's house today." And my mother's like, "You're a witch, Donna. You have this ability." So I think I had something, but I think that nature really attuned me to that silent language. And when I became a dancer, I just had such a reverence for the body and I could really listen, and I did choreography and it would just come through. As a matter of fact, I usually had to have somebody with me when I did choreography because I could never remember because it was such a flow that came through. So I think it was something that was innate, but I did develop it over the years. And with the work I do now, with the body centered healing work, that's all very intuitive.
That's so amazing. And I'm just like, I want to know so much more about you now. Oh my gosh. I always wanted to be a dancer, but honestly, Donna, if you saw me on the dance floor, you would look the other way. There's no coordination, there's no skill. I do think that it's so beautiful to watch dancers though, because you can tell like you're in flow. So it's like you are channeling something else, like the spirit of the earth, like the energy of the universe. So beautiful. You can tell when someone is truly, truly so in love with dancing and so connected. And your yard sounds beautiful. I grew up on 2.6 acres. We were backed up to a swamp, and same. I was always outside. My husband still makes fun of me because I told him I used to make mud pies. Like I would pretend that I was a chef and I would use the skunk weeds and roll them into like, lettuce wraps with mud. And so randomly we'll be driving down, the highway and he'll be like, "Oh, is there any skunk weeds over there? Like, do you want to go play?" And I'm like, "Would you leave me alone?" Like, that's what gives me such a connection to nature. I'm so thankful, and it sounds like you are as well, for like the childhood that I got to have. And so it's so amazing that you got to go down the path that you did. I mean, it is never a blessing for someone to get any type of illness or sickness, but to be divinely guided to an area and a calling and a connection to where you intuitively just kept following the directions, your intuitiveness, your connectedness step by step. And then to be with that mindset of it's about play and almost like reconnecting to your innocence as a child. Because we take on so much baggage as we grow up. It's like, tar getting stuck and then it has to be cleaned or taken away. So it's just such an amazing journey that you have experienced thus far. And so tell me how you have now shaped this into the work that you do. Tell me a little bit about what you do, and feel free to chime in whenever you're ready also about your use and your knowledge of essential oils.
Yeah, I'm going to share something else that is just playing on my mind here because, again, what you're saying, Christine, it's the path has been so interesting to me. When I was 4 years old, my mom took me to my first dance class, and my cousin came with us. And when we were in the class, my cousin started to cry. She wanted her mom. She was upset. So I took her out to her mom. I felt so bad. And the teacher came out and said that if you're not a serious dancer, you can't stay. That's my memory of it anyway. And so we went back, and then my cousin started crying again, and I just couldn't not help her. And so we were asked to leave the dance class, and I did not pick up dance again until I think it was in seventh grade, and then didn't start it seriously till I was about 18. I never quite got technically as good as some of the dancers were starting, whatever it was, starting later, or it's not meant to be, whatever. But I had a dance company. I loved it. But at some point, I just felt it's just not enough. Something's not enough. And I started the program in 2004 called Living Body Awareness. I was in the park and I would see people running or riding a bike, and I could see that they were injuring themselves. I could see that it was precarious what they were doing. So I would just start helping them and giving them suggestions about other ways to use the body. And then a friend of mine had an injury, and she said, Donna, do you think you could help me? And I did. I went and I did a private session with her, and I was able to help her heal. And another friend of mine who I shared this with, and I was at this time, I was happily dancing and acting. I had finally, got on a trajectory that I was doing this, what I thought I had wanted to do all my life. And a friend of mine said, Donna, this is something special that you have. She goes, and she had a studio. She was an energy worker. She had a studio, and she said, I'm going to fill up a class for you. You come, and for a year, I'm going to give you use of the studio for free. Well, she ended up filling two classes for me, and I started doing this work, and I never turned back. And, had I not had that experience as a child where I didn't dance and I was afraid to go back, I thought I wasn't a serious dancer, is what I quoted myself. I was afraid to go back. And my life would have been very different. It would have went a very different way. So I went the path of healing instead, being a healer, and never turned back since 2004. So it's been about 20 years since I've been doing this work.
That's amazing. And I have a 5-year-old and she's in dance. And honestly, that's so crushing. That's so crushing that was said to you and your cousin, because your children, you don't know to be serious. Do you know what I mean? So, one, I want to touch on that. And two, the fact that even though you said you were scared to go back, like the fact that you went back at 18 and started, that gives so much hope, because a lot of people think that if they don't do it by a certain age, then they missed the opportunity. So I want to commend you for not letting that stop you. You were brave enough to do it and to follow through. And it sounds like it's led you on a beautiful journey. So kudos to you. It's just so wild to me. They say adults, especially when we're young, make such an impact on us. And look at it. How many years later is it? And you're still, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure in your memory, it just literally feels like yesterday when that situation happened. And it's so wild to me that people say things like that, not realizing the impact that they have. And two, that we allow moments to change the trajectory of our lives. And I think everybody has a story. And it's just kind of cool when we realize that we don't allow that to hold us back anymore, you know?
Yeah, I would dance in my basement. I created shows. I did so many things. And it was in high school that I got in as a dancer for the show Guys and Dolls. And that's the thing that said, I have to do this. And so I just decided to, at that point, to take some dance. But again, when I look back at this for many years, it really was, I was angry about it and I felt like it was a real loss. But when I came into living body awareness, living through the awareness of the body, I may not have come to this any other way. And so I see that as a blessing. It really, again, took me on a different trajectory.
Yeah, it's almost like you could have had two paths. You could have went down the one path where everything was easy, in regards to like you stayed in the class and that took you on one path. So it's almost like you chose the little bit more complicated path for more growth and expansion, Instead of
Absolutely.
regular English, you took AP English. You know what I mean?
So true. So true.
My first experience with essential oils, I mentioned to you before in a previous conversation, was I was in the hospital and they gave me, someone was coming around, I guess, with like a new product that they were selling. And it was just like a little stick filled with an essential oil and I guess some type of fabric or something in there that would keep it intact. I don't really know the details of it, but I remember just smelling it. That's all the directions were, just to smell it, for a few seconds. And yeah, I mean, they really do work. And for a long time, I would carry that around in my purse until it didn't really have the same smell anymore. I guess it had lost its power. But I want to know more about essential oils. So that's why I was so intrigued to have you on the show, because I don't know too much about essential oils. I have a kit that someone gifted me, but they don't smell very good, the ones that I have. So I think you would know a lot more about them than I would. So tell me a little bit about like your favorite ones and or your purposes and how you work with them.
My pleasure, Christine. I'm just so thrilled that in a hospital you were given essential oils. That just warms my heart. I hope that continues to be so, that people have the opportunity. But I just want to give you a little bit of science, and because I'm so intuitive, I don't always remember this. So I'm just going to read this. This
Yeah.
is what's available with essential oils, and they come from the earth, so they work as nature does with our body's ecosystem. Within 22 seconds, they reach your brain. In 2 minutes, they're in your bloodstream. And within 22 minutes, they're measurable in every cell in your body. So the potency of them and the power of them is just incredible. And one drop of rose oil takes 300 rose petals. That's the power of them. And one drop of peppermint oil is equivalent to 28 tea bags of herbal tea. So they really are so aligned with how our bodies are made and just incredibly work so quickly and so simply is one of the things that I love about them. I work with oils by offering consultations with the individual, which allows me to customize the oil blend through research and then tuning in to what the essential oils are saying. And then it begins to take form. And then I put them together with prayer and intention to bring it all together. I'm amazed at some of the results that I've gotten, and I'll share that at the end. But one of the things I wanted to share was about what I found out about the frequency of essential oils. It's a book called The Vibrational Frequencies of the Human Body by Brian James Rose. And he starts off by saying, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. The human body vibrates at about 62 to 68 megahertz. When you have symptoms of a cold, your body vibrates around 58 megahertz. And this is said to be the vibration in which a headache can set in. Symptoms of the flu start around 57 megahertz, pneumonia about 55 to 52, and then it goes down from there for different diseases. And it's said when someone is in meditation or prayer, the frequency is 83 to 77 megahertz. This is why meditating or having faith, talking to the universe or your God is deeply healing. We feel better after doing these things, and it's literally because our energy increases. Plants have a vibration of, like, say, fresh herbs vibrate from 20 to 27 megahertz. Dried herbs vibrate from 12 to 22 megahertz, and essential oils vibrate at 52 to 320 megahertz.
Wow.
It's incredible. This is why plant medicine is medicine and it works. It is at the highest frequency. And the way to take in the vibration of the plants and the trees is through the essential oils, and they work so potently for this reason. Different plants have different frequencies, so using essential oils will raise your vibration and help you keep away from low thoughts, sickness, and pain. Some plants and trees are higher than others, but they all work to uplift our frequency. So lavender, for example, vibrates at 118 megahertz, and sandalwood at 96 megahertz, peppermint at 78 megahertz. These are all high numbers considering the body is around 62 to 68 megahertz. So they work to keep us in a high frequency. And this is just amazing to me. Of all the plants and trees, and more than that, of all the tangible things on earth that are alive, rose has the highest frequency. Rose is sacred, and she is the closest thing to love in tangible form. Literally, her vibration is measured at 320 megahertz. And the rose oil is measured at that as well. She is as high as it gets in terms of things we can actually see at a higher vibration. But what's so beautiful is that love's frequency has been quantified that it's 528 hertz. So notice everything else we talked about was in megahertz. So as a vibrational being of around 62 to 68 megahertz, we are far removed from the high vibration of love. But love is so powerful that it can heal us. It has been said and proven throughout the ages that love is the only medicine that's real, that love cures. The numbers I'm sharing with you now allow this to be proven. And this is why when you are loved or in love, you feel healthy. This is why when you operate from a place of love, miracles happen and anything is possible. Because rose is 320 megahertz, it is the highest frequency of all the tangible things that we can literally put in our body. And for this reason, it is the closest thing we have access to date to teach us love. And I was just blown away by that.
I am too. I can't even wrap my head around that. I'm immediately like, I need essential oils now. Stat. Um, okay. One, I love science and am so interested. Like, I want to do more research on this, and I'm going to write down the name of the book and everything that you mentioned. And I can even throw it in the show notes for any of the listeners that want to dive deeper into this as well. Obviously, we'll share all of Donna's contact information too in the show notes. Rose is so cool because growing up, I had this beautiful rose bush and I always would smell it because it was so calming. So to learn that it has the highest frequency of all of the essential oils is really, really interesting to me. The essential oils are not something you drink, right? How do you use them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Christine. I use certified therapeutic grade essential oils. So you can take them eternally if you wanted to. It is something that you could do. I've done that before, say with lemon, when I had some kidney issues. And I know of somebody who used the lemon, put the lemon underneath her tongue, like 10 drops of lemon oil, and was able to pass the kidney stones that she had. Most of the essential oils can be taken internally, but you really need to know what you're doing. You have to have some background with that. But just smelling them alone, like I said, within 2 minutes, they go into the brain. So 2 seconds, I'm sorry, they go into the brain. So just inhaling them can do so much if that's something that you're comfortable with. I like to put them on the feet. That's one of the safest ways. And the feet contain every part of the body. And so it will harmonize each part of the body when you put it on the feet. When I do the custom blends, I make the recommendations of where to put the oils for that person, depending on what it is that they're going through at the time. But you could use them as perfume, some of them as cologne. You could use them on the spine and the back of the neck, which is great. One of the blends that I work with is an immunity blend for the wintertime. And my husband and I used that throughout COVID, and neither one of us got COVID. And we did not get shots. We just went with that. I really give it over to the essential oils for that. And one of the historic things that's so fascinating, one of the essential oils is called On Guard, which is through doTERRA essential oils, which is the oils that I use. And that is made of oils that the thieves used during the time of the plague, so that they pocket picked people who had the plague or had died from the plague. They never got sick because they used these particular essential oils. So the potency is really, really powerful. And, you know, everything from MRSA to malaria, and, you know, these oils can prevent this kind of thing, to just daily colds and flu. And I use this immunity blend as a preventative. And then if I feel myself coming down with something, I'll just put it on the feet, rub it into my feet, and take whatever's extra on my hands, back of the neck, and the spine every hour for 5 hours consecutively. And 9 out of 10 times, I do not get sick. It's just something so simple. And they help to regulate the nervous system, and you can just smell them, you know, if you're needing that. I've had a lot of different results with the oils, everything from helping Parkinson's to muscular sclerosis to osteoporosis of the spine, back pain, kidney issues, high blood pressure, eye issues. I started getting floaters, and I just took the frankincense, which is supposed to help the retinol in the eye. And I just started putting a little bit on my fingers and just tapping it around the eyes. And within 2 months, the floaters were gone.
Wow.
Yeah. Cancer, heart support, heart rate variability, candida, the liver, regulating the nervous system, cellular support, anti-mold sprays, and anti-COVID.
Oh, yeah.
These are things that I have worked with clients. And I'd love to read a little bit about the frankincense oil if we have time. Or
Yes.
yes, frankincense is one of the oils in the immunity blend, and it works on so many levels. Research shows traditional use of frankincense was in driving away evil spirits with the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Romans, the French, Asian folklore, and rituals. And if we think of these spirits as obsessions, fears, and anxieties, which may become manifest as physical illness, we understand the benefits of applying frankincense for all occasions. Frankincense is an analgesic, it's an antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, antidepressant. It's an astringent, it relieves gas, it stimulates regeneration of cells, it works as a digestive, a diuretic, an expectorant, a sedative, immune boosting tonic, and anti-carcinogenic. So these are just some of the things that it can do. And you can get very creative with it. Frankincense is one of the most mild of the oils and can be used very intuitively, very creatively. Frankincense is the most valuable essential oil for slowing and deepening breathing, helping to allay fear, anxiety, nervous tension, and stress. It literally smells divine and was traditionally burned as an offering for the gods. Useful in massage and bath oils, frankincense is also good in inhalation, diffusers, and mood blends. It counteracts respiratory problems and is useful in treating colds, bronchitis, asthma, coughs, and sore throats. And it has been documented all over the world to have a very strong cancer deterrent factor. One of the greatest gifts of frankincense is its chemistry, that it can cross the brain-blood barrier and facilitate oxygenation of cells for optimal communications at the cellular level. So that's just a little bit. I have pages of it. That's just a little bit of some of the science of it. And then if you look at some of the spiritual components, the emotional components of frankincense, frankincense is known as the oil of truth. And through connecting the soul with its inner light, this oil reveals the truth. Frankincense supports in creating a healthy attachment with one's father. It assists in spiritual awakening and helps an individual feel the fatherly love of the divine. When one has felt abandoned or forgotten, frankincense reminds them that they are loved and protected. While this oil is incredibly powerful, it is also gentle, like a loving father who nurtures, guides, and protects. Frankincense shields the body and soul from negative influences and assists the soul in its spiritual evolution. Enhancing practices of prayer and meditation, this oil opens spiritual channels that allow an individual to connect to God. Through the light and power of frankincense, the individual can draw closer to divinity, healthy masculinity, and the grandeur of the true self. So just getting a sense of the full range is just incredible. The other oil I used was lemon for my healing for the breast. So I used the frankincense and the lemon. And again, just to give you a sense of the lemon, and you think lemon, what do you think? It's air pollution, anxiety, bites, stings, blood pressure regulation, brain injury, cold sores, colds, concentration, constipation, depression, digestion, disinfectant, dry throat, dysentery, energizing. It's for exhaustion, for fever, for influenza. You could use it as a furniture polish, for gout, for greasy or oily hair, for grief or sorrow, for gum removal or grease, for hangovers, heartburn, intestinal parasites, kidney stones, lymphatic cleansing, MRSA, overeating, pancreatitis, physical energy, postpartum depression, purification, relaxation, skin tone, stress, throat infection, tonsillitis. It's uplifting, good for varicose veins and water purification. And lemon is noted as the oil of focus. And this delightful citrus aroma of lemon oil nourishes the mind and aids concentration. While lemon supports the emotional body, its major effects are experienced in the mental field. The crisp scent of lemon oil inspires one's ability to focus. Lemon is a wonderful aid for children struggling with school. It teaches individuals to be mentally present by focusing on one thing at a time. Lemon dispels confusion and bestows clarity. It counterbalances mental fatigue due to too much studying or reading. Lemon restores energy, mental flexibility, and the drive to complete a project. Emotionally, lemon inspires a natural playfulness and buoyancy in the heart, which I did find. It assists in releasing feelings of depression by restoring feelings of joy and happiness. Lemon inspires joyful involvement in the present moment by infusing the soul with energy, confidence, and alertness.
Wow. As you're going through all of this, I'm literally like ticking off people in my mind who I'm like, oh, they need that. They need that. I need that one. It sounds like there's no getting around this. Essential oils sound so powerful and such a natural way for us to heal our bodies. I am so intrigued. I am definitely wanting to learn even more and dive even deeper into this. It sounds like you're so knowledgeable. I'm like, you're definitely going to be my go-to person for all essential oil questions. And I know that you do have a workshop coming up, correct?
Yes, I do.
Tell the audience a little bit about your upcoming workshop because it is going to be hosted over Zoom, so anyone can join in.
Yes, it's going to be December 2nd from 1 to 2:30 Eastern Standard Time on Zoom. And the topic is going to be, what if using a simple essential oil every day this winter could keep you healthy and increase your vitality? In this essential oil workshop, I'm going to teach you that, as well as the amazing frequency essential oils carry and how they can impact our daily lives with such simplicity. Specific oils that are good for supporting us through the winter months and harmonizing our immune system. And additionally, you will have the opportunity to purchase a custom-made immune blend support at a discounted price and learn about all of the physical, emotional, and spiritual properties that the immune blend offers.
That sounds so lovely. I'm going to put the contact information so you can join in the show notes if you want to attend this workshop. I think it's going to be beautiful. It sounds amazing. And If you were to leave our listeners with any last insight or advice, what would that be? You've already taught us so much,
Mhm.
but what would your last words or advice or a short story, anything you want to share that's calling on your heart?
Well, essential oils, I think, when used with wisdom and reverence, are such a companion to our body. And one very wise woman named Megan Morrison, she said that the body is the soul's chance to be here. And so I would just encourage people to get to know their body on a relational connection as a consciousness, and that it's really here as a guardian for us to give us messages from our soul. And I know that may sound hard to understand, but in my work, I work with alignment, postural alignment, and just going with the natural design of the body and not trying to go against that and learning what that is so impactful for our everyday movement. So I guess if I was to say one thing, it's just maybe like a good friend, starting to build that relational connection to your body and seeing what feels right for you. That was the thing with the cancer for me, was it didn't feel right to go ahead and do the double mastectomy or start with radiation. And again, I was open to that because it was shocking and I just, wasn't sure what to do. But when I was able to tune in without that fear, when I did ask that first question, what is my part in this? I was able to make a decision without the fear to see what felt right for my body. And that's going to be different for everyone. But my hope is that people can really listen deeply to the messages, the signals that the body is giving us, so that you can go on your path, whatever that is, with greater confidence and greater connection and relation.
Such a beautiful, powerful message that you're leaving us with. And I want to thank you for all of your knowledge, your expertise, your willingness to share your stories, and of course, for your part in helping people to feel better, to take better care of their bodies, and to really utilize what the earth has provided to us to heal ourselves. I mean, the information that you shared today is so powerful. Like I said, I literally can't wait to dive deeper into this. I love doing research and I love science-based information, but also like the connectedness to the intuition and the spirituality part and how they work together. That is definitely my jam. So I'm so excited that we made this connection and that we had this conversation today. And I just want to thank you so much for opening up and sharing your story. And I know that you are going to have definitely made an impact on our listeners today. So for that, Donna, I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I really, really appreciate you.
Oh, Christine, it was my pleasure. And thank you so much. And I'm just so grateful to have met you. And you are just one of the most generous people that I know. And I feel, so much appreciation to have the opportunity to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you. The feeling is definitely mutual. If you've been feeling the pull for deeper transformation, real, lasting change that starts from within, I'd love to invite you into transformational one-on-one coaching with me. This is where alignment becomes your new normal. You'll get 4 90-minute sessions at an introductory offer of $600, designed to help you release what's holding you back, reconnect with your truth, and step into the next version of yourself, fully and unapologetically. You can book your sessions through the link in my bio. Just tap my link tree to get started. Your next breakthrough is closer than you think, and I'd love to be a part of your journey.